Captain Elias Ward had seen many worlds, but none like Lerathis. The planet's surface shimmered with soft blue light, as though the very air carried a glow. Crystalline trees rose high into the sky, their branches scattering rainbow reflections across the thick mist. Strange birds with translucent wings sang in harmony, and rivers of liquid silver wound through the forests like glowing snakes. Elias could not help but feel both awe and caution. This world was beautiful, but it was also foreign. Every step carried unknown dangers. He had come as a diplomat and explorer, sent to study the alien civilization that called this planet home. The Lerathi were said to be highly intelligent, with a culture that stretched back thousands of years. Yet even with all his training, Elias felt nervous. The air smelled sweet, but there was a tension beneath the surface, a quiet energy that told him he was being watched. His first mission had been simple. Observe the planet from a safe distance, make contact with minor officials and gather information. But everything changed the moment he saw the child. Kyle was small, no taller than a human toddler, with pale, luminous skin that shimmered faintly under the soft light. His large violet eyes looked at Elias with fear and curiosity in equal measure. He was alone, crouched near the edge of a crystalline cliff, and the signs of recent violence were clear. The ground around him was trampled, and shards of broken crystal littered the area like deadly glass. Elias froze. He knew he could not leave the child here. "Hey," he whispered softly, raising his hands to show he meant no harm. "I won't hurt you." Kale's eyes widened. He took a small step back, then another. His voice was a high-pitched whisper, a strange combination of musical tones. Stranger, danger. Elias understood the meaning. Even if he could not understand the words completely, he had dealt with alien species before. The child needed protection. He slowly knelt, keeping his movements calm and deliberate. "It's okay," he said. "I'll help you." Kyle hesitated, then glanced around as if weighing his options. Finally, he took a shaky step toward Elias. That single act of trust was a small victory, but it carried enormous weight. Elias knew that protecting this child could change everything on Lerathis for better or worse. He carried Kale back toward his landing craft. Every step was tense. The forests seemed to move with him, shadows twisting like living things. Strange creatures scuttled in the underbrush, their eyes glowing as they watched the human and the child. Elias kept his hand on Kale's small shoulder, guiding him. He could sense the child's fear, but also a growing curiosity. Kale was smart. He was learning quickly, observing everything from the way Elias moved to the subtle sounds of the alien world. When they reached the craft, Elias carefully lifted Kale into the cabin. The child's small hands clutched at him, and Elias realized how fragile he truly was. He activated the ship's protective shields and began analyzing the child. Kale's biology was fascinating, similar enough to humans to make communication possible, but different enough to challenge every assumption Elias had about life forms. "Don't be scared," Elias said. "I'm not going to let anything hurt you." Kale tilted his head, studying Elias's face. For a moment, it seemed as though the child understood not just his words, but his intentions. Then Kale placed a small hand on Elias's arm, a gesture that required courage beyond his size. Elias felt a warmth in his chest. Somehow this tiny alien had already started to teach him about trust. Back at the research station, Elias struggled to communicate with the Lerathi officials. They arrived shortly after his discovery of Kale, traveling in sleek, floating vessels that seemed to defy gravity. Their forms were elegant and humanoid, but with elongated limbs and soft glowing patterns along their skin. Their leader, Queen Lyrina, was striking, a regal presence, her violet eyes sharp and calculating. "You have found our child," she said, her voice both melodic and commanding. "Explain yourself," Elias bowed respectfully. "Your Majesty, I found Kale alone near the edge of the forest. He was in danger. I could not leave him." Lyrina's eyes narrowed. "The child was protected. He was targeted by enemies. How did you come across him?" "I was exploring the outskirts," Elias explained. "I heard the commotion and found him. He was alone and afraid. I could not just leave him there." The Queen studied him carefully. Her gaze pierced through the calm exterior Elias tried to maintain. She seemed to weigh every word, every movement. Finally, she spoke. "You have done something unexpected," she said. "You have shown loyalty. But you are human. You do not belong in our world." How can I trust that your presence will not harm him? Elias met her gaze steadily. I only want to protect him. I have no other motives. Lyrina paused, then nodded slightly. We shall see. He is a child of importance. His safety is paramount. You will stay near him under our watch. You will not leave until we are certain he is secure. Elias swallowed. He had expected gratitude or dismissal. Instead, he found himself bound to the child by the authority of an alien queen. It was a heavy responsibility, but one he accepted without hesitation. Over the next days, Elias focused on building trust with Kyle. Communication was difficult at first. The child's language was melodic, composed of sounds humans could barely mimic. But through gestures, expressions, and simple symbols, Elias began teaching Kale to understand human words. He showed him how to point, how to mimic sounds, and even how to write simple marks in the glowing sand. Kyle was a quick learner. His eyes sparkled with intelligence and his movements grew more confident. Every small achievement was celebrated with smiles and soft laughter. For Elias, these moments were precious. They reminded him why humans could connect with others through empathy, patience, and creativity. One evening, as the twin moons of Lyrathis rose high in the sky, Elias carried Kale to a cliff overlooking the glowing forests. The child's eyes widened at the view, reflecting the shimmering rivers and towering crystalline trees. Elias knelt beside him, placing a hand on his shoulder. This world is beautiful, he said softly, and it can be scary too. But together we can face it. Kale tilted his head, and for the first time he spoke in a word that Elias understood. Together. The bond between them was forming, not just of guardian and child, but of friends, of two beings from different worlds learning to trust one another. Elias knew that their connection would be tested. Lyrathis was a planet of wonders but also of dangers. Enemies lurked and politics among the aliens were complicated. Yet in this small moment nothing else mattered. He had found a life worth protecting, and Kale had found someone who would not abandon him. Elias looked up at the night sky. The stars above Lyrathis were brighter than any he had seen on Earth, and for the first time, he wondered if humanity had a place among the stars, not just as observers, but as protectors, as heroes. As the wind whispered through the crystalline trees, he made a silent promise. I will keep you safe, Kale, no matter what comes. I will not let anything happen to you. And in the soft glow of Lyrathis, the child placed his small hand in Elias's, a quiet but powerful gesture of trust and friendship. It was a beginning, and Elias knew that the story of their bond was only starting. The crystalline halls of the Lyrathi Palace gleamed like sunlight trapped in glass. Light bent along the walls, scattering rainbows across the floor as Queen Lyrina walked with measured grace. She had brought Elias before her court to explain why a human, a stranger, had been allowed near Kale. The chamber was filled with Lyrathi nobles, their forms elegant and glowing with patterns of color unique to their families. Their eyes glimmered with curiosity and suspicion, and a hush fell as Elias entered. Captain Elias Ward, Lyrina said, her voice calm but commanding, you have chosen to care for Kale. You claim your intentions are pure, yet you are an outsider. Do you understand the consequences of your presence? Elias straightened his shoulders. He had spent months navigating human bureaucracies, but this court was different. Every gesture and word was weighed, every glance had meaning. Your Majesty, he began, I am here to protect Kale. Nothing else matters. I have no desire to influence him or interfere with your culture. I only want to ensure his safety. A noble stepped forward, her luminous wings folding neatly behind her. You presume much, human, she said, her voice melodic but edged with steel. Kyle is not a child of ordinary lineage. His destiny is intertwined with our society. How can we trust that your human perspective will not change him? Elias met her gaze without hesitation. Kyle is learning from me, yes, he said. But it is not about replacing your ways. It is about teaching him courage, creativity, and trust, qualities every child should have. I am not taking him from you. I am helping him grow safely. A murmur ran through the court. Some nodded in approval, but others whispered concerns, their voices like distant chimes. It was clear that Elias's presence had divided the room. Some saw the advantage of his human instincts, his ability to think quickly, act decisively, and see solutions others might miss. Others feared that human influence could destabilize their traditions. Queen Lyrina raised a hand and silence returned. Captain Ward has acted with loyalty, she said. But we must balance care with caution. Kale's future is vital to Lerathis. We cannot allow danger to claim him again. Therefore, you will remain near him under supervision until we are certain he is safe. Your actions will be observed. Elias inclined his head. Understood, Your Majesty. The Queen turned her gaze to Kale. The child, now more confident in Elias's presence, clung to his arm but looked around at the nobles. His violet eyes shone with curiosity, and he tilted his head as if to observe the court for the first time. You see, the Queen said, addressing the assembly. Even though he is human, Elias has earned the child's trust. This is not a matter of simple protection. It is a matter of understanding the bonds between beings and how loyalty can bridge worlds. One of the younger nobles whispered to her neighbor, "The human is clever, too clever perhaps. We must watch closely." As the court dispersed, Elias found himself walking beside Kale in the palace gardens. The gardens were a wonder of bioengineering. Crystalline flowers hummed with energy. Rivers flowed with glowing liquid, and delicate bridges arched over streams of sparkling water. Kale's small hand rested in Elias's larger one, and the child pointed at a flower that changed colors with the moonlight. "What is it?" Kyle asked, his voice a musical tone that Elias had learned to interpret. "It's a moonflower," Elias said. "It glows because it absorbs the light of Lerathis's moons. Beautiful, isn't it?" Kale nodded, eyes wide. "Beautiful. Like you said," Elias smiled. He had begun teaching Kale not only words but concepts, emotions, and simple logic. The child's mind was sharp and hungry for understanding. Watching him grow, Elias realized that humans had a gift that even the advanced Lerathi admired, the ability to teach, adapt, and inspire. But the peace of the garden did not last long. Word had spread through the palace of Elias's growing bond with Kale, and not all were pleased. That evening, a group of nobles met in a hidden chamber. "He is human," one said, her voice low and urgent. "How long until he changes Kale's thoughts? How long until the child sees humans as equals, or better?" Another shook his head. "He is clever, yes, but he is also bold. Boldness is dangerous in one who does not share our customs. If we allow him too much influence, we risk our traditions, our future." The discussion grew heated, but it ended with a plan. Someone would observe Elias and Kale more closely, ensuring that the child remained under alien guidance. They would test whether the human could be trusted, or whether his presence would cause a crisis. Meanwhile, Elias continued his work with Kale. Each day brought new lessons. They built small devices together, simple tools that Kale could manipulate to learn cause and effect. They explored the forest near the palace, practicing navigation, observation, and patience. Every moment revealed the child's intelligence and curiosity, and Elias marveled at how adaptable Kale was. One afternoon, they were near a grove of luminescent trees when Kale stopped abruptly. His ears, sensitive to the alien sounds of Lerathis, twitched. Elias followed his gaze and saw movement in the distance, shadows darting between the trees. His instincts, honed from years of exploration, warned him that danger was near. "Stay close," Elias whispered, crouching low. "I'll handle this." The shadows moved closer, and Elias realized they were not animals but beings. Lerathi, but from a rogue faction opposed to the Queen. They had learned of Kale's vulnerability and intended to capture him. Elias' mind raced. He had no weapons beyond his personal device, but he had human ingenuity. He gestured for Kale to follow and led him through the twisting forest paths, using small diversions to confuse their pursuers. He climbed over crystal roots, ducked under glowing vines, and even used a small portable shield to hide them temporarily. Kale's quick thinking and trust in Elias made the escape possible. The child copied Elias's moves, stepping silently, holding his breath when instructed, and showing courage beyond his years. After what felt like hours, they reached a small cave overlooking a silver river. Elias leaned against the wall, breathing heavily. Kale sat beside him, his violet eyes reflecting fear, excitement, and awe all at once. "You see?" Elias said softly. "We can face danger if we work together. You are brave, Kale. Very brave." The child reached out, placing a small hand on Elias's arm again, a silent gesture of trust and gratitude. Elias felt a swell of emotion. He realized that this bond was deeper than protection. It was friendship, respect, and understanding. Humanity, with its courage and adaptability, had a way of connecting even across worlds. The rogue faction would not give up easily. Elias knew this. The political tension in the court was only the beginning. Outside there were dangers he could anticipate and fight. Inside there were plans and whispers he could not always predict. But he had learned one vital truth. The heart of a human driven by loyalty and creativity could influence even the most advanced society. That evening, back in the palace, Queen Lyrina summoned Elias once more. She studied him quietly, her eyes reflecting the glow of the palace walls. "You have proven useful," she said, "not merely in strength but in wisdom. You think differently than our people, yet you guide the child with patience and courage. Still understand this, the court watches. The safety of Kale is paramount. If you fail, it will not be your life alone at risk, but the future of our planet." "I understand, Your Majesty," Elias replied. "I will not fail him." Lyrina nodded. "Good. Then continue your work. Teach him, protect him, and know this. Loyalty is as rare as courage. You have both. But do not forget you are human. Some here will never trust that fully." As Elias left, he glanced down at Kale, who waved shyly from a balcony overlooking the city. The child's trust and courage were growing daily. The court might doubt him and enemies might lurk, but Elias felt a surge of determination. Humans were capable of great things, he thought, and sometimes the simplest ideas, loyalty, courage, ingenuity, were the most powerful. The next days would be tests of skill, heart, and mind. Political games would continue, threats would emerge, and Kale's safety would hang in the balance. But Elias felt certain of one thing: human determination combined with empathy could meet any challenge, even in a world as strange and beautiful as Lerathis. And as the twin moons rose over the crystalline forests, Elias made another silent promise. No matter what schemes or dangers came, Kale would not face them alone. Together, they would navigate the trials ahead, proving that the human spirit could shine even among the stars. The forest outside the palace shimmered with an eerie glow under Lerathis' twin moons. Elias crouched behind a crystalline boulder. Kale pressed close to his side. The rogue faction was close, moving silently through the luminescent undergrowth. Elias's heart raced, but his mind was sharp. Humans were built to adapt, to improvise. He had faced danger before, and he would face it again. "Stay behind me," Elias whispered. "Watch my moves and do exactly as I do." Kyle nodded, his small hand gripping Elias's sleeve. The child's violet eyes were wide, reflecting a mixture of fear and determination. Over the past days, Kale had learned quickly. He could move silently, recognize danger, and even mimic human tactics in simple ways. Elias felt a spark of pride. This child was more capable than many had predicted. From the shadows, the rogue faction advanced. Their leader, a tall Lyrathi with silver-patterned skin, signaled with a flick of her hand. Two others separated, circling around. Elias assessed the situation carefully. There were too many for a direct confrontation. He needed strategy. "Kale," he said softly, "see those rocks? We'll use them. Watch closely." He grabbed a small portable shield from his pack, a simple human invention yet powerful when combined with clever placement. Elias set it near the path the enemies were likely to take, then stepped back. The light of the shield reflected off the crystal forest, creating confusion. The rogue faction paused, trying to understand the anomaly. "Now, Kale," Elias whispered. The child dashed to the next rock, crouching low. Elias followed, using the shadows to remain unseen. One of the rogues lunged forward, but Elias rolled aside and triggered a small noise emitter. The sound echoed, drawing attention to a false location. Kale's eyes sparkled. He understood immediately. They were creating distractions using logic and observation, human tactics that were simple but unpredictable to Lyrathi. The rogue faction faltered, unsure where to strike next. They moved quickly through the underbrush, Elias leading the way, Kale close at his side. They climbed over fallen crystal trees and navigated through glowing streams. Elias's instincts were sharp. He noted the placement of every shadow, every sound, every movement. Humanity's ability to improvise and adapt gave them an advantage the Lyrathi faction could not anticipate. Suddenly, a rogue stepped into a clearing, blocking their path. Elias froze for a moment, then acted. He grabbed a small reflective disc from his pack and tossed it toward the creature. Light bounced off the crystal walls, dazzling the rogue. Taking advantage of the confusion, Elias and Kale sprinted past, moving deeper into the forest. "Good job, Kale," Elias said softly as they crouched behind a giant, tree-like crystal. "You did exactly as I taught you. You stayed calm and moved quickly. That's bravery." Kyle smiled faintly. "Brave. Like you," he said. Elias felt a warmth in his chest. The child was learning more than survival. He was learning courage, problem-solving, and trust. These were qualities humans had cultivated over millennia, and now they were passing them on to an alien child. Elias realized that his human traits, adaptability, creativity, and empathy, were a force in themselves, even in a world as advanced as Lyrethus. But the danger was far from over. As they moved toward a narrow gorge, they heard voices ahead. The rogue faction had regrouped. Elias knew they could not outrun them indefinitely. A plan was necessary. He whispered to Kale, "We're going to use the terrain. Follow me exactly. Step where I step and trust me." They approached the gorge where a stream of glowing silver water cascaded into a deep valley. Elias noticed the jagged crystal formations along the cliffs and a few narrow ledges over the water. He calculated the path quickly. "We'll jump from ledge to ledge," he said. "Keep your balance and stay close," Kale nodded. They began moving carefully. Elias led, testing each step, making sure the surfaces were stable. The rogue faction was gaining, but the narrow path slowed them. One misstep could send them plunging into the valley below. But Elias trusted his calculations, and Kale trusted him. As they reached the final ledge, the rogue faction appeared at the cliff's edge, shouting in their melodic language. Elias turned, standing between Kale and the enemies. He knew a confrontation was inevitable. Elias picked up a crystal shard, polished smooth. It wasn't a weapon, but it reflected the light from the moons brilliantly. He aimed it toward the rogues, using the sudden glare to disorient them. Kale watched closely, then mimicked the motion with a smaller shard he had found. Together, the two reflected light, creating a dazzling spectacle that confused the attackers. The rogues hesitated, unsure where to move. Elias seized the moment. He leapt onto a safer ledge, helping Kale follow. The child copied him perfectly, and they descended into a hidden path that wound along the valley floor. The rogue faction could not follow without exposing themselves to the precarious cliffs above. Breathing heavily, Elias crouched behind a boulder. "You did amazing, Kale. Very smart. I'm proud of you." Kyle's small chest rose and fell with excitement.
"We won?"
he asked. "Yes," Elias said with a smile. "Together we won." The bond between them had deepened in ways words could not capture. Kale was no longer just a child in need of protection. He was a partner, learning to face danger with courage and intelligence. And Elias realized that human ingenuity, simple, flexible, creative thinking, was a weapon as effective as any advanced technology. After they rested, Elias led Kale through the hidden paths back toward the palace. They avoided the main roads and patrolled areas using the forest's natural cover. Kale pointed out small signs of wildlife and natural traps, showing how much he had learned in a short time. The child's intelligence and adaptability impressed Elias more with each step. By the time they returned to the palace, the twin moons were high in the sky. Queen Lyrina awaited them in a balcony chamber, her expression unreadable. "You have returned," she said, her voice calm but firm. "And unharmed." Elias bowed slightly. "Yes, Your Majesty. The child and I are safe." Lyrina studied Kyle, who clung to Elias's side. "I see. He has learned much. His courage, his composure. These are traits we value, but a human teaching them." She shook her head slightly. "This is unexpected." Elias met her gaze steadily. "Courage, patience, and trust are universal, Your Majesty. We humans have learned them through experience. They can be shared even across worlds. I do not replace your teachings, I add to them." Lyrina's eyes softened slightly. "Perhaps you are more useful than I imagined. Yet remember, the court is watching. Some will never accept your presence even if you are capable." Elias nodded. "I understand. But I will do everything to ensure Kale's safety and growth. That is my duty." For the first time, Kale spoke more clearly, using the words Elias had been teaching him. "Stay together. Brave." The queen looked at the child, then at Elias, and finally nodded. "Very well. You remain under observation, but your loyalty is noted. Your methods are effective." That night, as they rested in the palace gardens, Elias watched Kale sleep. The child's small hands twitched as if dreaming of adventures yet to come. Elias reflected on the day's events. Humans had survived and thrived because they adapted, thought creatively, and trusted one another. Here, on an alien world, those same qualities had kept them alive, and had taught an alien child how to face danger with courage. The rogue faction was still out there. They would try again. The political tension in the court would grow. But Elias was certain of one thing. Humanity had something special, something the Lirathi could admire and perhaps even learn from. And Kale, the child he protected, was proof of it. As the twin moons bathed the crystalline forests in silver light, Elias made another silent promise. No matter what comes, Kale, we face it together. You will never be alone, and they will never break your courage, not while I am here. The bond between them had become unbreakable. The challenges ahead would test it further. But Elias knew that human ingenuity, bravery, and loyalty were a force to be reckoned with, even in a world filled with the unknown. And with that thought, he settled beside Kale, ready for whatever trials the next day would bring. The palace of Lirathis was quiet in the early hours of the morning. Crystalline towers reflected the first light of the twin moons as they slowly faded from the sky, leaving soft silver shadows across the city. Captain Elias Ward stood in the balcony garden, Kale beside him, both looking out over the glowing forest below. The recent battle had ended, the rogue faction defeated, and for the first time there was peace. But peace did not mean freedom. Queen Lyrina had made her decision clear. Elias would not leave Lirathis. At first he had felt a surge of confusion and doubt. He had come as an explorer, a human observer with a duty to return home. Yet the Queen's command was firm, and the bond he shared with Kale could not be broken. Elias realized slowly that perhaps this was where he was meant to be. Elias, Kyle said softly. We stay? Elias smiled, ruffling the child's pale, glowing hair. Yes, Kale, we stay, together. The child's eyes shone with trust and excitement. Over the past days, Kale had grown beyond fear. He had learned to think, to move, to act with courage. More than that, he had learned loyalty, patience, and the ability to trust in someone from another world. Elias's human qualities, creativity, empathy, and adaptability, had helped shape this small but remarkable being. The palace corridors buzzed with cautious whispers as Elias walked with Kale. Nobles and guards, who had doubted him, now regarded him with respect. Some still watched carefully, unsure if a human could be fully trusted. But others saw what Elias had always known. Humans had a way of rising to challenges, thinking beyond rules, and inspiring courage in those around them. Elias and Kyle reached a balcony overlooking the city's central plaza. Workers and residents were beginning to stir, repairing damages from the rogue faction's attack. The city glowed softly, as if grateful for the human who had saved it. Kale pointed to a group of young Lirathi children playing near the streams of silver water. They play? Kyle asked, his small voice tinged with wonder. Elias nodded. Yes, they are safe now. And soon they will learn from you too. The child blinked, absorbing the meaning. Elias placed a hand on Kale's shoulder. You see, bravery is contagious. Courage spreads. You have already begun to show others what it means to be brave, to think and act with care. And now, you will continue to grow. Queen Lyrina approached silently, her presence as commanding as ever, yet softer than before. Captain Ward, she said, her voice melodic, you have proven yourself beyond measure, not only in protecting Kale, but in showing qualities that even the most skilled among us could admire. Your loyalty, your quick thinking, your courage, they are rare even among humans. Elias bowed. Thank you, Your Majesty. I only wish to do what is right, for Kale, for Lirathis, and for the future. Lyrina studied the pair, her eyes lingering on Kale. He is a child of importance. His path will shape many lives, and yet he has found guidance and friendship in you. This is unexpected but welcome. You will remain, and together, you will help prepare him for the challenges ahead. Elias felt a weight settle in his chest. He had expected gratitude, perhaps respect, but not this. A permanent bond. A responsibility that extended beyond himself, beyond his human world. Yet when he looked at Kale standing confidently beside him, Elias felt no fear. He had already begun to understand that humanity was not just about technology or strength. It was about connection, trust, courage, and the willingness to act for the greater good. Days passed. Elias and Kale continued their lessons together, blending human methods with Lyrathi traditions. Kale learned to navigate the crystalline forests, practice telepathic focus, and understand the delicate balance of Lyrathis' energy systems. Elias, in turn, studied alien technology and culture, learning from them while sharing the simple but effective human strategies of observation, problem-solving, and improvisation. The court began to adapt as well. Nobles who had doubted Elias now came to observe his interactions with Kale. They saw a child growing stronger, more confident, more capable, and they saw a human whose presence inspired courage, creativity, and trust. Slowly, respect replaced suspicion, and the palace buzzed with quiet approval. One evening, as the twin moons rose again, Elias took Kale to the highest tower of the palace. From there, they could see the entire city, the forests and the rivers of silver flowing through the valleys. "Elias," Kale asked. "We protect?" Elias nodded. "Yes, Kale, we protect. Not just the palace, but the people, the forests, and everything that matters. We keep the world safe together." Kale's violet eyes sparkled with determination. "Together!" The child's voice carried more weight now. It was no longer just a repetition of what Elias had taught him. It was understanding, conviction, and courage. Kale was no longer just an alien child. He was a symbol of what could happen when different worlds and cultures came together in trust and friendship. Elias realized that this was the essence of HFY. Humanity could rise to meet any challenge, not through domination but through courage, ingenuity, and loyalty. It was the heart and mind of a human that made the difference, even on a world as advanced as Lyrathis. In the following weeks, the palace became a hub of learning. Elias worked alongside the Lyrathi educators, showing new ways to teach courage, problem-solving, and creativity. Children watched in fascination as Kale demonstrated skills learned from both human and Lyrathi methods. The blend of approaches created a harmony that no one had anticipated. Even the queen was impressed. Lyrina would often observe from her chambers, noting how Elias's guidance shaped Kale not only into a capable child, but into a future leader. "He learns not only with his mind, but with his heart," she said quietly to her advisors. "That is a gift humans bring. Perhaps our world needed this perspective all along." Elias knew his place was no longer just as a visitor or protector. He was a teacher, a mentor, a friend. The palace had become his home, Kyle his family. Humanity had not only survived among the stars, they had thrived, proving that courage, creativity, and loyalty could shape the future even on alien worlds. One quiet evening, Kale sat beside Elias, watching the silver rivers flow beneath the towers. "Elias, stay?" the child asked. Elias smiled, placing a hand gently on Kyle's shoulder. "Yes, Kale, I stay. And together, we will face every challenge that comes." Kale nodded, his small hand resting in Elias's larger one. The bond between them had grown unbreakable, a testament to trust, courage, and the human spirit. The twin moons shone down on the crystalline city, casting silver light across the towers, the gardens, and the flowing rivers. Humanity had proven its worth, not through weapons, not through force, but through qualities that could never be measured: courage, ingenuity, empathy, and loyalty. And as Elias looked over the city, Kale by his side, he knew that he had found more than a mission or a challenge. He had found a new home, a new purpose, and a partnership that would endure for years to come. Lyrathis was safe, Kyle was learning to lead, and humans had earned their place among the stars, not just as visitors, but as heroes. Elias took a deep breath, feeling the cool, luminous air of the alien world. "No matter what comes," he whispered, "we face it together. Always." Kyle smiled, a bright, confident smile. Together. The palace of Lyrathis gleamed around them, a beacon of hope, unity, and courage. And in that shining city, humans and aliens alike learned a simple truth. When loyalty, courage, and creativity combine, there is no challenge too great. Together, they would shape the future, one brave step at a time. Commander Alara Kane stared out of the observation window of the space outpost, her sharp eyes scanning the endless void. The stars sparkled like scattered diamonds across the black canvas of space, but today, something felt different. A ripple of tension ran through the command center, a feeling Alara could not shake. The outpost, named Haven 9, was humanity's first foothold beyond the Sol system. Orbiting a small bright star, it was a place of research, diplomacy, and preparation. Scientists studied the strange planets nearby, engineers maintained the delicate systems, and security personnel trained daily for any unforeseen threats. Humanity had stepped into a vast galaxy filled with mysteries and dangers. "Commander," Lieutenant Ryavenko's voice broke through the quiet hum of the control room. "Sensors are picking up a large object entering the system. It's moving fast, and it's enormous." Ilara turned sharply. "Show me," she said. On the main screen, a dark silhouette appeared, moving steadily toward the outpost. It was a warship of unimaginable size, its surface smooth and dark, reflecting the distant star like black glass. The room fell silent. Everyone stared at the image, unable to hide the mix of awe and fear. This was no ordinary spacecraft. Its design was unlike anything human engineers had ever seen. Sleek, powerful, and intimidating. "Commander." "It's hailing us," Rhea said, her voice tense. Ilara stepped forward, activating the communication console. The screen flickered and a tall, armored figure appeared. It was an alien, a warrior. Its eyes glowed faintly and its armor shimmered with strange metallic colors. The room went cold. The being spoke, and its voice, though translated into the universal human language, carried a sharp, commanding tone. "I am Vaktar," the alien said. "I have come to challenge a human. One human will fight me in a duel. Refuse, and there will be consequences." A ripple of murmurs swept through the room. "A duel?" muttered a technician. Is this even legal? Or safe?" Ilara's mind raced. The duel was a formal challenge, a practice among warriors of Vaktar's kind. She had read reports of these beings. They were legendary across multiple star systems. No warrior had ever defeated them in single combat. Many humans would have felt fear, perhaps panic. But Ilara's heart beat with a different rhythm, a spark of determination. She took a deep breath. "I volunteer," she said clearly, her voice steady. Heads turned in surprise. Her crew stared at her. "Commander, you don't have to," Rhea began, but Ilara raised a hand. "This is what we trained for," she said. "Humans are not the strongest in the galaxy, but we are clever, we adapt, and we never give up. If we are to make our mark, we do it boldly." The alien's eyes seemed to narrow, though it was impossible to read its expressions completely. "So be it," Vaktar said. "Prepare yourself. We will meet on the neutral planet Drava 5 in 3 standard days. There the duel will take place. Honor will decide the outcome." The screen went blank. Silence filled the control room. Then slowly, the room erupted into whispers and nervous laughter. Ilara turned to her crew. "We have 3 days to prepare," she said. "Not just physically, but mentally. This duel is not just about strength. It's about strategy, creativity, and courage. I will need every advantage we can find." The next hours were a whirlwind. Engineers studied Drava 5's surface, jagged mountains, deep canyons, and frequent electromagnetic storms. Scientists analyzed environmental hazards and suggested ways to use them strategically. Rhea and the other security officers helped Ilara train relentlessly, simulating combat moves against larger and faster opponents. Ilara meditated during the quiet hours, reviewing every bit of knowledge she had about aliens, duels, and tactics. She remembered historical duels on Earth, skilled warriors facing stronger opponents using intelligence and agility to survive. Humans had always relied on their creativity, on their ability to adapt when brute force failed. That was her advantage. Night fell in the artificial sky of Haven 9. Ilara sat alone in her quarters, staring at the small view window. The stars seemed brighter tonight, almost as if they were watching her. She whispered to herself, "This is our chance. I can show them. We are not weak." The next day, Ilara visited the simulation room. Hollow projectors lit up the space with virtual terrains, replicating Drava 5 as accurately as possible. Towering mountains, shifting sandstorms, and jagged cliffs filled the room. She trained relentlessly, dodging simulated attacks, using speed and cunning to escape every strike. Every fall, every near miss taught her something new. "Commander, your reflexes are improving," Rhea said, monitoring the training stats. "But remember, Vaktar will not fight like our simulations. He thinks differently, faster, stronger." Ilara nodded. "Then we think differently too. That's our edge." By the second day, the crew had built a small pack of equipment designed for the duel. lightweight armor for mobility, a few energy-based defensive tools and sensors to track environmental hazards. Ilara carried everything on her shoulders with a calm determination, training as she went. The night before departure, Ilara walked along the observation deck again. The alien warship loomed in the distance, black and silent. She felt a strange mixture of fear and excitement. This duel was more than a challenge. It was a test of humanity itself. "Good luck, Commander," Rhea said softly, placing a hand on her shoulder, "not just for the duel. For showing them who we are." Ilara smiled faintly. "We'll make them understand." "We always do." When the shuttle lifted off the outpost the next morning, the crew watched from the observation windows. Ilara sat in the cockpit, her eyes focused on Drava 5. The barren planet was unforgiving, with jagged cliffs and raging storms. But Ilara saw opportunity in every obstacle. She remembered the alien's words. Honor will decide the outcome. Humans had their own kind of honor: courage, creativity, and perseverance. She would fight not only for herself but for her crew, for humanity, and for the idea that humans could rise to meet any challenge. As the shuttle approached Drava 5, the stormy skies reflected the tension in Ilara's chest. The alien duel awaited, and she knew it would not be easy. But she also knew humans had a gift that no alien could match: the ability to think beyond brute strength, to turn the impossible into victory. And somewhere deep inside, a spark of excitement grew. Ilara whispered to herself again. Let them see what humans can do. The shuttle touched down on the rocky surface. Dust swirled in the thin atmosphere, and the alien warrior was already waiting, his massive silhouette standing tall against the gray cliffs. The duel was about to begin, and the galaxy would never see humans the same way again.